आउँछ
Fellow Lions, District Governor, Lion leaders, ID, visiting guests. 17-18 Lions year, we will be talking and implementing and executing few principles so that every Lion member, officer, maybe from club level, district level, zone chair, region chair, committee chair, they all will be given tools, resources. They will be inspired, motivated, and we have been using one word, workstation. Workstation. When somebody wants to get something done, we will get that thing done right there. If somebody has to go to my LCI, okay, let's sit down here. Let's not talk. Let's get into my LCI. George always says, like, you have to report. So we will ask our fellow Lions, secretaries, presidents, whoever they are holding their post. Let's sit down, let's report. It's easy. We don't need a warehouse, we don't need factory. All we need is a small laptop. All right, Jennifer talked about that, right? The world is in our fingertips. Leading Lions to excel. This is a workshop. We will take this workshop to every club, every district meeting, zone meeting, region meeting, anywhere you would like us to be, where we can make things happen. So, leading Lions to excel. Whole point will be, we need to be an excellent person first before we can be excellent in any other field. How that can be. What are the tools, what are the resources? So this workshop team is comprised of Tika Lamsal. He teaches the subject.
Rhetoric and writing.
In the University
of San Francisco.
This is his subject. And we have, I probably say, he's my headquarter, like Al. I don't explain to him, I don't tell him to do this and do that. He understands my body language. When I go home, that part is done. That work is done. He taught in the school, he taught in the university, and he's a go-to guy for Lions. Dhruva Thapa, he is part of this workshop team. Al Satake has been a Lion for how many years?
45 years.
Wow. And he comes from a club called Berkeley Host that was chartered in 1919. So these are amazing people. And for me, every single person is an amazing person. But we cannot have 10 people workshop team, right? And other people will be delegated, empowered, and trusted to do other things because there are lots of things that we need to take care. So this workshop will go for 1 year. We'll walk you through, make you feel important. when we walk through, we all will say, yeah, I did great. Because everybody can do great. That's our philosophy. Every individual is a bundle of possibilities. I mentioned that when I was introducing Kathy. We cannot underestimate anybody. Ray Oliver is going to be the region chair. I cannot imagine what he can do as region chair. If I believe, if I trust, and if I delegate, he will sign out. He will do all the best because he says, I've been entrusted. I have been delegated. I have been empowered. Power to the people. Power to the club officers. Power to the zone chairs. Power to the region chair. Power to first vice district governor who is going to be elect, right? Second BDG. Power to the people. Club presidents, secretaries, members, charter presidents. Whole year, wherever we are needed, this workshop team will be there. They have committed for 1 year. Have you?
Sure, why not?
I'm excited.
Oh, you sound it.
I've already started.
So, welcome to this workshop, Leading Lines to Excel. Al Satak I have introduced. He will follow me. After that, this will go to Tika, who is a professor at University of San Francisco. They will take the lead because we empower, we trust, we delegate. Skip, we delegate. Thank you. Al.
Thank you very much, my first Vice District Governor Rajan. This is the enthusiasm we're going to be looking forward to and we're going to bring forth to this district this coming year, our centennial year. And the way Rajan and we are all thinking, this is our district, this is going to be our year, it's not my year, not Rajan's year, but it's all of us. So we as a group are going to be working together and hopefully we're going to be training and leading and teaching future leaders of our district. Okay, because that's where it's going to be. You know, I mean, I'm not going to be here for another 45 years, maybe, but I don't think so. And then as each district governor ends their year, you always look for things that be coming up. But now's the time that we feel is a good time to teach and give the opportunity to the region chairs, the zone chair, said, okay, you take the lead, ask us questions, and we will help you. You know, so it's your turn to show us what can you do. So that's the intent of leading Lions to Excel. So that's where our basic premise is going to be. So with that, I would like to turn this back over to Tika and Dhruva, and they will lead us through the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. How are you? How was your experience of going to the casino last night? Because I don't regret going to that and taking a good night's sleep because one of my friends was complaining that he's going to be 2 days time out at home by his wife because he lost his budget for something that she had already planned for. So I feel pretty good about that because I didn't go. All right, so as you see, there's a lot of discussion going on about this topic for a while, and my predecessors have already introduced to the concept of what it is like to lead, and especially leading to excel. And I'm going to take a little bit different approach today here to talk about leadership development. This is based on some of my own experiences of working with some of the community people, because for my PhD dissertation, I worked among the refugee people in Kentucky, and I feel skipped to be one of the Kentuckians, fellow Kentuckians, and then I also moved from Kentucky to California, like Skip. And when working there with community people, I have seen firsthand, because my research is ethnography, working among nearly more than 100 refugees in Kentucky, taking interviews at the average of like 1.5 hours each, and then playing with the data and writing my dissertation. And I have seen firsthand what it is like to change oneself from within. I've seen firsthand how an individual can make a change, not only within himself or herself, but within the community, and how it is very essential for all of us to change ourselves first if we want to see changes among others. And this is going to be a little bit more cross-cultural, and which I argue in my research also, I more call it a transcultural perspective rather than cross-cultural, because transcultural is more about not only trying to give away to some people, but also taking in the form of learning, in the form of understanding, and it's a kind of forging mutual relationship amongst participants and the researchers together. So this concept of transcultural leadership is coming as a kind of very catchword leadership in recent times. So I'll be focusing on that a little bit. And before I move on to further discussions about this, I want to go ahead with a little bit of test, because I'm a teacher after all, and I'm pretty much used to taking tests. So yeah, I wonder, how many of you have got your smartphones with you? I believe most of you, right? And for those of you who don't, please, I beg your pardon. And now I want you to quickly open your browser on your smartphone, if you can, please. And I'll have only like 6 to 10 questions. They are very brief, very short, and you have multiple choice answers. You have to select any answer that you think is correct, and I'll display on the screen what is correct and what is not. You should not feel bad about it, because sometimes even if you do something wrong, you'll fall within majority, not within minority. So you might feel good about that. Let me pull this up. And are you all on your browsers? Please go to kahoot.it. That is KAHOOT.IT. Kahoot.it. Did you get that? Okay. Okay. All right. So it will give you some numbers to enter there.
Game pin.
Game pin? Yes, connecting. Please enter that number. And once you enter the game pin, you can write your first names. And, oh, if you want, you can use your nicknames too. How many? Are you all in? Oh, sorry. So be good. Because sometimes it is better if you have been hitting all the wrong answers, you don't want to be ashamed of yourself. So it's better to have nicknames sometimes. Alright, are you all ready? Have you all been in?
Yes.
Not yet? Did you go to kahoot.it? Go to browser. Kahoot.it.
This is exactly why all of you should have your
553-1634.
You can do it.
Oh, there are 20 players now.
you ready? Now I'm waiting for our district governor candidate. Are there? Yes. Oh, okay. All right, let's play. Okay. Are you all ready? Okay. So you'll have 30 seconds time to guess the correct answers. That is more than enough. If you want to confer with somebody else nearby, you can do that too. You're allowed to ask people. Okay. And then try to hit the right answers as much as possible. Okay. So let's start. There are 10 questions. The first question starts now. And remember, your time is only 30 seconds.
What was the question?
Where is it considered respectful to slap loudly during a meal? There's the question. Japan, China, England, and Italy. You have only 7 seconds. Oh. All right. Not bad, 7 people. So those of you with wrong answers feel very good about it because you are with the majority. Majority out. Hey, don't feel bad about that. And let me see who is doing how. All right. JB is getting the highest points at 89. So points will depend on how fast you answer and how correctly you do it. Okay. All right. So next, where is this gesture considered to be rude? China, Kenya, England, Mexico. You just hear the correct answer. All right. Again, most of you are with the majority. Feel good about it. Okay. The same kind of leadership now. JB coming to the top, followed by me. Next question. So where is eating with the left hand not acceptable?
Tell me so I don't go there. I'll never be able to eat. I know.
So you have Australia, Europe, Middle East, and South Asia.
Middle East. South East.
All right. Okay, there are 2 answers. There are 2 correct answers. So both of you are right. Okay, even in Middle East. All right, Ari is coming to the top now. So there is some kind of change in equation. This is your turn to come to the top 5. So please try your best. Where is it completely acceptable to interrupt in a conversation?
Russia.
Russia. They don't care what they say.
All right. France.
Know that.
There are 6 people. All right.
God, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
I thought France are
There is change. See, people are changing their scores. It's good. Now, question number 5. Where is it rude to stand with your hands in your pockets?
Again, Russia.
Germany.
All right. There are 4 people. So most of you are right, but sorry, from the left. Okay. Okay. So next. Okay, there is again change. That's good. George and Jenny are doing pretty good. All right, next. Where is it unacceptable to give white flowers to someone?
Did you make up these questions?
Huh?
Did you make up these questions?
I have them already set. All right. Wow. Only one person. Only one person. Wow, that's amazing. And I would give only 20 seconds to my students, but because you are much mature, many more mature people with young hearts, I try to give more.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, next.
We're getting more competitive as we go on here.
Yeah. All right, it is disrespectful to use colors during a presentation in which country? All right, it's in Hong Kong. And this will be good. There are two people at least.
And good with the majority.
With the majority.
I don't feel bad about that.
You should feel proud of yourself. This is democracy, so feel free to be with the majority. That's always better. Alright, so question made. In this country, if you admire an item in a host's home, they feel obligated to give it to you. So never try to admire things at their home.
One right.
All right. Wow, I'm glad. So many of you are right here.
My God,
Wow.
I got the first correct.
All right. We're coming pretty close, and competition is almost growing as well. So where is it seen as impolite to talk during a meal?
Did we do that?
Right? Wow. Okay, yeah, there are 4 people who got it right. Most of you are with majority. That's good. All right, the last question. This is your last chance. Where is a thumbs up gesture considered to be rude? Hey, wow. Isn't that amazing? Wow. Yes. That's what they do. All right, so let's see the results. DZ Jan is ka. George is whoo, that means winner. And Jenny is ch. Right? So don't feel bad about that. You are doing pretty good. Others, all of you get consolation prize. All right, that's it. So it helps us see how deep we are involved in understanding each other. Right? There are so many things we don't understand. We probably don't know about. Right? That's pretty common. And the only thing about cross-cultural or trans-cultural leadership is to be able to see how we can understand each other, how we can develop how we can forge a kind of meaningful relationship with people in communities, other communities. So generally, we can see from these people how we learn transcultural communication or transcultural leadership skills, right? So in modern times, the software of the mind, culture is seen as software in the mind. But software are of two kinds. One is operating system, right? And the other is mostly based on the fundamental kind of task that we can get done by this. So culture is more like operating mind, okay, like software. And this is more like cultural iceberg. So what do you mean by cultural iceberg? Any idea? What is an iceberg?
Well, it's 6/7 below the surface.
Yes, but we see only on the surface, right? We see based on people's dresses, the way they wear their scarves, the way they tie their, t-shirts somewhere, and the way they walk, the way they talk with their accents, like me. And you can see it by looking at their faces and colors, where they are from, and what kind of religion they follow, they observe, what they do, okay? And we easily estimate people's identity based on that. And that is what we mean by cultural iceberg. And that is where we jump to make decisions or make judgments about people. Because you come from that particular religion, you are that and that. And we develop brands to label people. Okay? And that way, we are not making any progress in this kind of, cross-cultural or trans-cultural relationships. As lines, as global organizations, as Jenny very nicely put it before, earlier during our speech. There are so many layers of communities and cultures, even within countries, that we have to reach out to. So that is the first step for us to think of those aspects in our mind and try to reflect on what we do, what we try to understand, and how we develop our understanding of others based on these things. And deep inside the iceberg, however, are so many other things, like people's values, right? Their thoughts, their cultural identities, which are very deeply hidden. That means each individual has a different identity based on their own perceptions of life, right? So we always take into consideration what is deep inside that superficial iceberg. So leading from the front. So what does that mean? We always talk about leading from the front, right? So first thing, I once again want to stress the quotation that I started with, being the change we want to see in others. That's how we prove among others how important we are for others to bring a change. And I have specifically two examples that I have experienced or encountered. One is about connecting our jobs to higher purposes. Whatever kinds of jobs we do, we are committed to, we should learn to value them. And I have an experience of one of my friends' colleagues talking about his boring job. He was a mechanic in our school district. And then he always complained about his monotonous kind of job. He always, whatever he did was just to go around and play with nuts and bolts. Taking care of nuts and bolts, right? And that's what he told. One day he complained to his coach, school coach, and said during conversation, all right, how about changing my job to something else? Because I feel so bored about it. And the coach simply asked him a question. That was so simple. He said, all right, so how can you think about your job by connecting it to higher purposes? So what higher purpose can you think of regarding your job? Then the mechanic took some time, thought for a while, and said, which is very simple. That is, I save children's lives every day. So what does that mean? Right? And he said he didn't do anything else except to just go to school every day and then turning nuts and bolts playing with these screwdrivers, right? But there was more than that. Higher purpose of his life was to save the lives of children. Every day he was working. So that way he was making a connection to higher purpose of his job. And that's how we can think about happiness. And what a beautiful morning. This morning we started our invocation. Lion Nancy started with laughter and peace of mind being therapeutic to our health, right? Therapeutic to our body. So that's what we can develop out of making this kind of connection to higher purposes of our day-to-day monotonous, so supposed to be monotonous activities, routine kind of activities in our life, right? So that is one. And another, the kind of change I've noticed myself firsthand was when working among the refugees in my previous state in Kentucky. One of the refugees was from Bhutan. He was 62 years old. His name was Not Bother. Of course, I don't use his real name because we researchers are not allowed to identify people based on their real identities. So I've given him name Don Bother. He was Don Bother Gurung, and he came to Nepal as a refugee in 1992. And of course, those of you who know the background of Bhutanese refugees, they when they started a kind of democratic movement in 1990s, the regime started persecuting them based on their language, their difference, their religion, their identity, ethnic identity, because these people were living in the south of Bhutan, and they were mostly Nepali-speaking Bhutanese refugees, Bhutanese citizens. But the regime persecuted them so much so that they started burning the whole villages, raping women, and then sending people, killing people indiscriminately, torturing them, putting them into jails for no reasons at all. Then they started, running away from their countries and took refuge in Nepal, and he stayed there for 20 years. And this man, when the third country resettlement started in 2006, under the leadership of the United States, then he came to Kentucky as a refugee, and then he was so depressed because he was badly beaten by the army at his home without any kind of legal charge, and he was totally crushed. He didn't want to do anything else, and he didn't even want to go to Survivors of Torture Center that my university where I worked had opened for the survivors of torture like him. And in my day-to-day kind of conversation, when I went to do my research, we volunteers, ethnographic volunteers, are always aware of contributing to the communities, not only taking from them, but also giving back to them. So what I did was, I promised to take him to his center and bring him back home almost every 2 times every week. And I persuaded him to at least go to that place. And he started going. And during kind of therapeutic sessions there, it took a while, of course, for him to change his attitudes. He was totally depressed. He used to work before, but he had left his job. He felt almost his life was meaningless, and he didn't want to change. But slowly, he started changing so unexpectedly, and I can see this as a kind of, as an effect of the therapy, as well as his own change in attitude. And the same person who did not even feel like going to the center later on, he started going to his community people and asking them voluntarily to join the center and try to change themselves. So later on, after 6 months, he did not only completely change himself, but also brought the change among his people in the communities. So he was the torchbearer of this change that he started doing from within himself first. So this is what it takes for us to start doing that sort of change, bringing that sort of change. The kind of internal commitment first, okay, regarding what we can do, how we can change other people's lives. And now, at the age of 63 almost, he started working and going to the communities especially. There was kind of regular spoken English learning sessions offered by Catholic Charities, and he became a regular client there, and he started not only going himself, but also taking his people. So this kind of change can happen when we see that when we understand in depth the value of people's internal kind of identity that way. Okay, and that kind of change was possible. Similarly, based on this, so how can we reach out to people then? How do we do this? How can we start? The first step is to try to understand each other very well and try to communicate our ideas openly without any preconceived notions, without any kind of biases and attitudes against others, each others. The first step starts with that. And now I want to go for this small activity using cultural artifacts. Cultural artifacts, as you can see, are material objects that represent the culture of people or places. And now in pairs, it might take more time if we just change. My original idea was to change partners for interview. But for now, I can see you can just interview each other the way you are sitting. Okay? And in pairs, interview your friend by focusing on any cultural artifacts. You can think of any objects, signs, symbols, dress, jewelry, anything that you notice that your friend is either wearing or carrying. If you don't see anything else, then you can simply start asking about anything that they value more and anything they have kept as a kind of symbol or keepsake at their home to remind them of somebody else or something else or some places or some cultures. Anything that you regard as valuable to talk about. Okay? Does that make sense? Is the question clear? Okay, so please, let's start interviewing. And first, one person will observe 1 minute in 1 minute quickly, and then you start asking questions about any objects you notice. Okay? And one person will have only 5 minutes. You have to finish exactly in 10 minutes both ways. So first person will start asking questions, another person just responds. And next, after 5 minutes, you switch over your roles and you do it accordingly. Okay? Your time starts now.
So you've got a diamond. Your third one is a diamond. It's probably your most recent jersey. So that's your memory. Activity.
We have to fulfill the requirement like as a phone chair, what people are doing, and in the community.
Yeah.
Objects.
So you have to file
We have
a monthly report.
What?
Does it represent that this is the gift from Chinese?
I've taken more
I went to the Sec 5 or above. Get to college? Really? Okay. It counts.
Then she was here, then she said,
Sure.
Why do we get content? Why are apart from others? There should be, but sometimes we talk about untouchables. Yeah.
So in June, out in California, everybody's graduated by
That was pretty much it.
Syphilis and she got married. She had a baby girl. She has lived for 2 years. So this evening for dinner they are coming here. Yeah. Tell me about you.
I've been born as a child. So I didn't have the kind of botany flower guy. He's already got a he's from
It's time for you to switch your roles if you have not already started. So please switch your roles.
power to women, anti-AIDS, besides some of the other poverty disease phases to this. They were hoping to achieve half their goals by 2015. Okay, well, 2015, I'm not sure how much goals they achieved. They set 17 more goals to be achieved by 2030. So, that's already lots of things, yeah. I used to carry the card around and have the list of
अहिले सबैजना आफ्नो पेयरमा गफ गरी बात गरिरहेका छन्. They are talking each other. They are trying to know each other. उनीहरूले आफूले एकअर्कालाई चिन्ने प्रयास गरिरहेका छन् र एकअर्काको बारेमा कुरा गरिरहेका छन् र यो एउटा गेम मात्र नभएर एकअर्कालाई चिन्ने एउटा मौका पनि भएकोले गर्दाखेरि उनीहरूले अहिले धेरैभन्दा धेरै कुराहरू एकअर्कालाई सोधेर यसको जवाब खोजिरहेका छन्. अहिले तपाईँले देख्दै हुनुहुन्छ यहाँ जतिजना पनि कुरा गरिन्छ सबैजना एकदमै सिरियसली कन्भर्सेसनमा लागेका छन् र उनीहरूको कन्भर्सेसनमा उनीहरूले केही न केही नयाँ कुरा पत्ता लगाउने छन् भन्ने विश्वास राखेका छौँ. र यो एउटा एक्सपेरिमेन्ट हो र हामीले एकअर्कालाई कतिको चिनेका छौँ कतिको जानेका छौँ. सँगै बसेर सँगै प्रोग्राम गरिरहेको बेलामा हामी एकअर्कालाई नामले मात्रै नचिनेर उसको बारेमा उसको हाउबी उसको इन्ट्रेस्टको बारेमा पनि सोधिरहेका छौँ. र यो दिस इज रियली इन्ट्रेस्टिङ मिडिया र अहिले ओएस नेपालबाट लाइभ भइरहेको छ र यसलाई रिनो डिस्ट्रिक्ट 4C3 कन्भेन्सन रिनोमा लायन्स क्लबको कन्भेन्सनबाट सेरेमनीमा वर्कसप चलिरहेको छ लिडिङ लायन्स टु एक्सेल भन्ने प्रोग्राममा. र यो प्रोग्रामलाई लिड गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ डाक्टर टिका लम्सा सेन्ट फ्रान्सिस स्टेट युनिभर्सिटीको प्रोफेसर. र अहिले हामी देख्दैछौँ सबैजना आफ्नो पार्टनरसँग एकअर्काको बारेमा जान्ने कोसिस गरिरहेका छन्. र अब समय सकिने आँटेको छ र फेरि हामी आउँदैछौँ फेरि वर्कसपको सेसन.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. I can see people going on and on. That's a very good kind of.
Yes, you have
Yeah. So see, this is only like 10 minutes altogether, and you have already started forging that sort of deep bonding between each other. Okay. So I want now some of you to report from your group what you felt like, what the conversation was like, and what you liked about this process, what you could get from each other, and what do you think you could do better. Okay?
Idea, George first.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, George.
Oh, that's tall discrimination again.
That's right.
Always the tallest one has to speak. Okay.
Okay. You want to take it?
So we got very quickly from the artifact to what's going on in your life. So it was her diamond earring, which she was able to buy herself from her nursing bonuses. And nursing, and how's that going? And how's the union situation in Michigan? Because because I know what it's like in California. And you've got children, daughters graduating from a university in Ohio next month. And it's a good thing. So we were quite into that, and then all of a sudden she noticed my wristband, which is the One campaign, which is, everybody know what the One campaign is? Ever been to a Bono concert? Yeah. He's wearing the same wristband. So the One campaign is, let's solve the UN Millennium Development Goals. There were 8 of them in year 2000, and by 2015. In 2015 they said, well, that's not enough. Let's do 17 goals by 2030. So we immediately got into some of what our passions were and what our lives are like. And so what I like about that is, assign the role playing, you know, and starting out as an interviewer, I had to think interviewer and be creative in my questions. Right. And so I learned something from that. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, George, for your very insightful comments on this. Exactly. So we started with very simple artifacts, right? So the stories started unfolding themselves. Through those artifacts, we are deep into the layers of stories that we have with us. And so meaningful about her professions, about her families, about his connection to some kind of campaign, making differences in others' lives. See, we never think of them as important things in our lives, right? So there is everything, every way possible we can make ourselves happy with. And these are small things, small gestures through which we change ourselves first and help bring change in the society. Okay, amazing. Any other reporters? Okay. You have to come.
Sorry.
So actually I wanted to bring this point, like, it's always really hard for us to start a conversation. I mean, we really want to talk. I mean, I'm looking at you, right? But I will be looking away how to start a conversation. So that's what, I think that's the artifact. That's what actually gives you an avenue, and then you start a conversation. So I was speaking with Mr. Hari. So I started with his brain. And then he started describing that, and then he felt comfortable. And then we started sharing our, like, where do we originally come from, and then, like, a lot of bonding. We felt like we were brothers, very close brothers. So I think that's a very efficient way to start a conversation.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing.
I agree.
Thank you very much for your comments. Any other orders? You might have to come a little bit forward.
Yes, this is Dr. Ansari. Actually, this is the modus operandi about the research. There are so many techniques how to get the achievement. So this is a kind of the process by which to integrate our goals. So like that here, we have heterogeneous plus multi-sectoral portions of campaign here. So our motto is to serve. We are, I am talking with my sisters about this, that how can you get the achieve, like the lineism. This, there are so many things. How to you get the leadership, how to convince to the other peoples, different place persons are here. But motto is to serve, so that we are getting the achievement. Like that, right now, we are different colors of dress, different decoration, different face structure, but motto is to serve. Because this place, international leader, local leader, top leader, all are, but motto to come from different place to achieve the lineism. So we have to get to lineism and how to improve yourself as a leadership. That is the main motto. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Any other comments? Kevin, you're
I would just say that for our purposes, I was able to discuss with Kevin the culture that he brings to, again, MD4, our California Lions, with his Indian background. And I started out with a simple question of, what a particular artifact meant. And he started to explain that, and it led to one question followed by another question, and I found myself being engrossed in the things that he was able to share, and specifically talking about what that culture brings to the United States. And I'll be real honest with you, I had so many questions, he never got a chance to ask me. But he did a great job.
Thank you very much, Gary. All right, so now we can see the differences, right? This is how we develop relationships, and this is particularly very important in the time when we are so much accustomed to bending on our phones and forgetting everyone in our surroundings. In Nepali, we call it goptino. We are gopting all our lives on our phones and forgetting everything, okay, in the surroundings. And we are not developing any bonds with people. So how can we reach out to more people and convince them that the purpose, the motto of Lionism is to serve others and force that sort of bonding, a relationship among each other, okay, among the communities, among cultures. So that is a kind of challenge that we need to face now, and we can start that with so small things, so small gestures that might lead to very important things, very important achievements after all. And thank you all for your amazing conversations and participation. And we are almost coming close to this, and before that, I wanted at least to have a kind of notion of mindfulness. I'm trying to bring so many things together because of kind of time. I may not be able to accomplish all of them. But as we can see through this research, per day we can't believe we are capable of playing with 60,000 thoughts in our minds. And among those, 90% become repetitive. So what does that mean? That means that if we have a small thing in the morning that brought some kind of sadness in our mind, we keep on repeatedly thinking about that sadness again and again throughout the day, more than 90% of our time. So think about being productive now with that sort of, legacy from the morning throughout the day. We probably are losing a lot, okay? And there is only 10% of productivity out of our mindfulness that we can achieve something, do something. So that looks like some kind of challenge. And as a practitioner of meditation myself, and somehow influenced by Buddhist philosophy, I am very much close to the idea of how we can bring happiness in our thoughts through these small actions, through small gestures, and this kind of meditation, even for a short term, not letting 60,000 repeated thoughts constantly play in our minds. We can sometimes go totally blank and try to be restful and focus totally in our mind for a while and breathe. And meditation, we might consider that to be a big thing. Oh, meditation, I can't do it. This is so hard. But it's not that hard. So how many of you know that you have breath? Almost everyone, right? So how many of you don't think you are conscious of your breath? You are not conscious of your breath. Sometimes, right? So the answer is already there. You have already started meditating. The moment you become conscious of your breath, you start meditating already. That's how you focus. It's very simple. Just think about inhaling once deeply. Let's do that together. I may not be able to do this 5-minute session I wanted to do, but at least let's go for one minute. So please get straight, make your posture a little bit straight, and take a kind of deep breathing. Inhale. Hold your breath for at least 4 seconds. And exhale. Please repeat the same for 2 more times. Now, as you normally breathe in and breathe out, just think about your mind. Think about the veins that flow through your mind. Slowly relax. Think about your ears. Your vocality, the sounds that you intake through your ears. Think about your eyes, the vessels, veins, sight, everything you can think about your eyes. And take a deep breath again. Hold your breath for 4 seconds. And just breathe out. Relax. Now you can open your eyes. How do you feel? Fresh. We did nothing, right? We just consciously try to focus on our breathing process that we do every second. It's only being conscious of what we do regularly. Okay? Things are exactly alike in our day-to-day lives. To be conscious of everyday activities that we are engaged in and how we are making differences through those small activities in our day-to-day life. Okay? So this is a very amazing experience working together and participating and engaging together. And before I conclude this session, I'd like to hand over this microphone to Drupala. He's going to conclude with some connections to Lionism and spirits. I see that all of you are very experienced people. We shouldn't say old people. We never say old people. We say experienced people with young hearts. So how we can make differences in those lives by appealing to other similar young hearts and bringing changes.
Thank you. Okay, definitely. How's the session? Great. Great. We are leading Lions to excel. Yes? And we have completed how many years of the Lionism? 100 years. Now, from July 1st, we have to think for another 100 years. Yes? And when the Lions was started, when the Melvin Zone started 100 years ago, at the time, how many of you had this iPhone and smartphone? Anyone? No. But now we have. Okay, you can see my iPhone there. It's a live going on there, and it's from Os Nepal, one of the media. And surprisingly, can you see? Can you read this? How many people has reached?
How many? I can't see. What's 14,000?
How many people reached in the yellow line?
Oh, yellow line. Oh my God. 16,078.
16,078 people. What? See, we were not handful of people.
Oh my God.
16,000 people were aware of this event. That is the technology we have to bring to empower Lionism. And we have to be visible. Yes? When I was there yesterday doing parade, I was thinking that if we had done that parade in front of the hall, that what would happen?
Oh my God, everyone.
What would happen? Everybody could see, and everybody could talk to each other after the event. But we are closed.
In the clothes.
Yes. And thousands of people are out there. Nobody knows who we are and what we are doing here. Yes? Let me give the examples of Nepal and India only, because I don't have time. Just I will take 1 minute. Yesterday, I saw one picture on Facebook. One police officer had one pouch of bag carried back here, and there was a Lions logo. Yes? And in Biratnagar, the eastern part of Nepal, there's a place. I saw thousands of rickshaw pullers. Yes, they were using masks with the logo of Lions. Yes, in India, just December, I was in Siliguri. There, I saw legacy project. The whole street was full of Lions logos with the trees covered. So that is the visibility that we need. So we are doing legacy project here. Yes, I was expecting we will put one big legacy Lions logo somewhere in the Reno so that everybody could see. So the visibility is very important, and social media is very important, and we have to show others what we are doing. See, in 100 years, we are still struggling to get the members. Yes, we are still approaching people to talk about the Lionism. Yes, but if you go to any developing countries where the lions are growing in the very highest way, why? Because they know. Because the service is there. That directly they are doing the service project. If we had gone outside and did some special service project with the visibility with the community, then definitely they could ask us what you are doing, from where are you coming from, and which organizations. Then we could tell them we are Lions. And whenever you go to private parties, anywhere, just wear one badge, and somebody like we did today, yes, artifact, we talk to each other, then somebody will see your Lion badge and ask you, what's this? Yes, from that point of view, you can start conversations. Okay? So I have so many things to share, but I don't have time. Sorry for that, but definitely we will be doing this kind of projects in future. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This will be an ongoing project, workshop. This team will be working. Short comment by our governor, Jan, about this session, and then ID, and then we'll finish it up.
I don't need the mic.
Okay.
I very much enjoyed this. This was great. It was a great opportunity to look at our individual thought processes, be observant of what we see from other people, and to capitalize on that observation in a way so that Lion Doris and I were talking. We've known each other for a long time, but we had the opportunity to sort of explore each other a little bit more, and that was a great opportunity. And I'm also a practitioner of meditation, so I was very happy to see that as well. So thank you very much, and this was a great opportunity.
Our wonderful guest from Lions Club International.
Hi, Jenny.
Yeah. How do you think about it?
Thank you, First Vice Sister Governor. This was fantastic. Lions, a 4C3, you have a diamond in the rough in these 4 young Lion leaders. And I think the 4 different ways that you came at this and encourage more leadership and encourage more interaction, I wish you just the great next year and look forward to see how many Lions you're able to bring in. Kudos. This was beautiful. Very nice. Thank you so much.
And last, not the least, every Lion member, maybe club president, maybe first vice president, maybe second vice, every Lion is very special, very important. You can make an impact, and now I finally give the microphone to our own Danny.
Thank you, Rajan. Actually, I bring you greetings from our international president, Chancellor Bob Corlew. I talked with him just earlier this week, and when he found out that we were having our 4C3 convention, he asked me especially to recognize this gentleman here. You know, every international president is very anxious to have membership growth. And he mentioned he knew that Rajan has been responsible for 11 Nepalese clubs in this United States. So again, I bring you greetings from him, and he wanted me to recognize you in front of all these people. The second thing is, Rajan spoke very eloquently, I thought, and I think the four gentlemen did also, about empowering each of us to utilize those gifts and talents that were given to us by a higher power. And I can share that, I practiced law for 26 years, and I had outside investments, and I had a Dairy Queen restaurant, and I got really active and involved in that, running a restaurant. I thought it would be a lot of fun, okay? Well, well, at Dairy Queen, it's usually a first job for many high school kids, and they didn't realize you have to come on time, you have to stay the full time. It was a pain in the butt, okay? I was happy to get back in my law office. And then there's Rajan, who came 13 years ago to the United States from Nepal. He did many things, but one of his gifts was starting a restaurant. And the same thing that he did there so successfully is what he is bringing to our district. And that is, he empowered people. He went from one restaurant, I think, to 4 or 5 now. And I'm scratching my head with my Dairy Queen, okay? And I say, Ryan, how do you do this? He says, I don't know how to do restaurant business, but I find people who do. And I let them use their gifts and their talents, and I trust them and I empower them. He will do that for District 4C3, your governor, to be, Rajan.
Thank you, wonderful job. He has committed for 1 year. Thank you, Al. You all was there. Dhruv, I never shake hand with him. I always...
Today you have to.
Yeah. I mean, he understands my body language and does everything. I never get time to say thank you even. Thank you.
Thank you.
One minute.
This is a rare picture.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. See you. Yeah. Let's